The Space Marine arsenal boasts a vast array of machinery, from drop pods to the mighty Thunderhawks. However, it is precisely the ground vehicles that form the backbone of the Space Marine's armoured machines and its main tool for heavy support during large-scale wars. In this issue, we will take a detailed look at all types of ground vehicles of the Space Marine chapters, which follow the Codex Astartes. In addition, it's time to highlight a new technique that has appeared in the Adeptus Astartes arsenal. Over the millennia, Imperium of Mankind has lost the secrets of creating anti-gravity devices, of which only a few relics of the age of technology remain. It was the discovery of an ancient STC by the famous Arkan Land that led to the breakthrough in the discovery and recovery of this powerful technology in the Imperium during the Great Crusade. The ancient Mechanicum and its successor, Adeptus Mechanicus, were able to once again produce anti-gravity generators and impellers that, while not as elegant or refined as the heretical technology used by some xenospecies such as the Aldari, were robust, reliable, and could be adapted for use on a variety of hulls, from light scout ships such as the Land Speeder to the super-heavy gravity tank Astartes. After the opening of the Great Rift, with the direct sanction of Robut Guilliman, Lord Commander of the Imperium and Fabricator General of Mars, a handful of select tech priests such as Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call continued research and development of new gravity battle tanks with which to augment Adeptus Astartes' battle chapters. Let's start with perhaps the lightest type of combat vehicle in the Astartes arsenal, the Space Marine Assault Bike. The Space Marine Bike is a stern, heavy combat motorcycle equipped with a powerful multi-fuel engine and capable of high speed on highways and off-road, even when ridden by a fully equipped Adeptus Astartes warrior dressed in power armor. Despite its impressive size and weight, the bike has an advanced control system and is capable of performing cunning maneuvers at full speed in the very heart of the most merciless battle. High cross-country wheels and automatic tire pressure control allow the bike to easily overcome such complex landscapes as desert dunes and icy lakes. The sturdy, reliable and simple construction of the bike itself allows it to ram through a concrete wall at full speed without damage to the load-bearing structure or the rider. In addition to standard firearms and personal weapons of the Space Marine, the bike is by default equipped with a twin-link bolter. In the Imperium, such bikes are used by most Space Marine chapters. Tactically, bikes are perfectly suited for long-range reconnaissance thanks to their speed and the fact that the riders can carry extra provisions and ammunition, so necessary for operations far from forward bases. Also, a bike can be used for a sudden assault on enemy positions, as it increases the survivability of the Space Marine and enhances his firepower. Finally, bike squads can be employed as a mobile reserve to strengthen one's own positions and flanks during defense. The standard armament of the Astartes assault bike consists of a twin-linked bolter, which is mounted into the motorcycle's handlebars on both sides of the front headlight, allowing the rider to shoot directly in the direction of movement. The firepower of two bolters is capable of dealing with most targets that might obstruct the bike's path. However, the true strength of such a combat unit lies in its rider, who can utilize his own arsenal from grenades and flamers to plasma guns and melter guns. Officers and heroes of the Astartes may carry into battle a wide array of close combat weapons, ranging from the conventional chainsword to the devastating thunder hammer. There also exists a lightened version of the Astartes motorcycle known as the Scout Bike, which is exclusively used by scout squads of the chapter for reconnaissance, sabotage operations behind enemy lines, and flanking strikes. As the Scout's mission does not include full-scale assaults on the front line, the Scout Bike has lighter armor, but in turn its engine is enhanced, allowing the lightened motorcycle to achieve even higher speeds, while maintaining the legendary maneuverability of its older counterpart. To compensate for the lighter armor, Scout bikes can be armed with the Astartes automatic grenade launcher to combat large groups of infantry and light enemy vehicles, should the mission parameters require it. Scout biker squads are also often used to deploy fields of cluster mines. When activated, such a mine scatters mini-explosive charges around it which detonate mid-air, capable of killing or severely maiming most lightly and medium-armored infantry targets, or even defeating the drive systems of combat vehicles. Sergeants of scout bike squads, in turn, in addition to the standard armament described above, can carry into battle a teleport homer, which allows for the more precise, reliable deployment of Terminator squads from drop pods directly into the thick of the fray. The heavy Astartes motorcycle, also known as the attack bike, is an enhanced version of the standard Astartes assault bike, with an attached sidecar and mounted heavy weaponry, as well as a second rider-gunner seated in this very sidecar. Such bikes are used as fire support platforms for other bike units when the speed and maneuverability that tanks of the Astartes cannot provide are required. This bike is armed by default with a twin-linked bolter, like its lighter variant, plus a heavy bolter in the sidecar. A squad of attack bikes, armed in such a manner, is capable of suppressing and destroying large numbers of enemy infantry and serves as an excellent means of fire support. Heavy bolter can be substituted with the mighty tool of anti-tank warfare, the multi-melter. The limited range of the multi-melter, in this instance, does not pose a significant problem, thanks to the bike's mobility and speed, which allows it to flank or rear attack the enemy tank formations and inflict considerable damage. The Raider Pattern Combat Bike, also called the Raider Combat Bike or simply the Raider, is a variant of the standard Space Marine assault bike created by Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call in the era Indomitus for the Primaris Space Marines of the Outrider squads. The Raider's combat bike shares many similarities with the firstborn assault bike, including twin-linked bolt-firing armament, in this case twin bolt rifles, and dual exhaust pipes. However, the engine block has even stronger armor, and the front suspension has undergone significant changes. Speed, armament and armor are certainly important to a combat bike, but they are nothing compared to performance. The Raider Pattern Combat Bike is great on the battlefield as well, as long as its driver can dominate the belligerent machine spirit. If Battle Brother and bike are in harmony, victory is assured. The Invader ATV, usually part of the Invader ATV squad, is a rover used by the Primaris Space Marines of Adeptus Astartes as a highly mobile reconnaissance platform. The Invader is a highly flexible rover, ideally suited for aggressive reconnaissance. Equipped with a multi-melter or onslaught Gatling gun, it can quickly open fire on vulnerable parts of the enemy line, as well as quickly engage and destroy reconnaissance elements of opposing forces. While there is no widespread information about the Invader's technical specifications, it is known that its combat power combines well with its mobility and allows it to be used in conjunction with the rest of the rapid-fire reconnaissance vehicles in the Space Marine arsenal, such as assault bikes and land speeders. The land speeder is a lightweight anti-gravity vehicle that serves as the primary means of reconnaissance, search, resupply, and rapid attack for the Adeptus Astartes of the Imperium of Mankind. The land speeder is based on the standard template construct found in the early 31st millennium by technoarchaeologist Archon Land during his famous expedition to Librarius Omnis on Mars. Land speeder, later known simply as the land speeder, soon became widely produced and used throughout the Imperium of Mankind by various legions of Space Marines and the Imperial Army. The use of the land speeders by the Imperial Army's successor, the Astra Militarum, has been phased out as the plasma and anti-gravity technology required to produce them has become increasingly rare in the millennia since the land speeder was rediscovered. Only extremely resource-rich Imperial planets or Adepta, such as the Forge world of Riza and the Space Marines, can afford to create and use them. Land speeders' anti-grav drives do not operate at high altitudes, but they can be used for controlled descent suitable for jettison by passing Thunderhawk gunship. Land speeders are rapid response units. They descend quickly from orbital transports to add their firepower to space infantry forces deployed on the ground. However, this vehicle is not an airplane and is not capable of flying in a direct airborne mode. Land speeder can perform a variety of tasks on the battlefield, from reconnaissance to tank hunting or other missions of destruction. The land speeder often acts as a mobile reserve vehicle, rushing forward to exploit weaknesses in enemy lines or to support a Space Marine attack where it is most needed. The land speeder's main feature is powerful ventral plates that emit an anti-gravity field, allowing the vehicle to move without touching the ground and glide if dropped from orbit or from a tall structure. How these plates work remains a mystery to all but the most senior members of Adeptus Mechanicus. The land speeder's anti-gravity plates are located around the nose and cockpit, and when activated they create a powerful reverse gravity field that repels natural gravitational forces and thus pushes the vehicle upward. The vehicle is propelled forward by a set of afterburner jet engines located at the rear of the land speeder. In addition, vehicle is equipped with small stabilizing wings on the sides. The land speeder's anti-gravity plates may be powerful, but they can only support about 4 tons, so the land speeder is only equipped with light armor. True, the power armor that the crew is clad in usually protects better from enemy fire. The standard land speeder is used as a fast reconnaissance and scouting vehicle, and as such has only light armament and armor. The land speeder is armed with a single pin-mounted heavy bolter operated by the gunner. The heavy bolter can be replaced with a multi-melter to increase the land speeder's firepower against armor. The vehicle's weapons are mounted on an L-rail system that allows the gunner to fire straight ahead or to the left. And while such restricted movement would be detrimental in most tactical situations on other vehicles, the land speeder's anti-gravity propulsion system allows the entire vehicle to be quickly deployed to the gunner's target. The land speeder, like many other Imperial vehicles, has received many variants over the years, created by Adeptus Mechanicus or the various weapons departments of the Space Marines, with a wide range of different combinations of weapons and features. The land speeder Proteus was a common type of land speeder used by all Space Marine legions during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. It is rarely, if ever, seen in the late 41st millennium. The land speeder Tempest is a heavily armoured variant of the standard land speeder, with many design changes to the standard speeder. The single-pilot cockpit of the land speeder Tempest is fully enclosed, and instead of small stabilizers, full-sized wings extend along the sides of the speeder. The Tempest is armed with a nose-mounted assault cannon and twin rocket launchers on its sides. The Tempest is ideal for supporting such raids due to its anti-tank missiles and infantry-destroying assault cannon. The Land Speeder Storm is a variant of the standard Land Speeder used by Space Marine Scouts as a vehicle and fast troop transport vehicle. The cockpit configuration is the same as the standard Land Speeder, with the pilot and gunner sitting side by side. However, the fuselage has been stretched to add an open troop transport bay capable of holding up to 6 Space Marine Scouts. This figure includes the crew. Other changes to this variant include the addition of a third engine. As with the standard Land Speeder, a heavy bolter, heavy flamer or multi-melter can be mounted on the gunnery. In addition, the Land Speeder Storm's silenced Land Speeder engines and sophisticated Vox communications system give it a stealth that is best suited for sneak attacks by Space Marine Scouts. As a result, the Land Speeder Storm can be used as a mobile firebase, assault vehicle or stealth trooper depending on the combat mission. To further enhance the Land Speeder Storm's effectiveness in strike missions, many chapters add a Cerberus launcher under the ship's nose. This 3-barreled weapon fires a disorienting volley of frag, stun and blind rockets at enemy positions, allowing scouts to advance and mop up survivors. Combined with the blistering speed of the Land Speeder Storm, the Cerberus launcher allows scouts to make quick and daring attacks against otherwise impenetrable defenses. Vehicle name: Land Speeder. Forge World of Origin Mars. Crew: Pilot, Gunner. Power plant: 2 AS-9 60 ramjets. Weight: 3.5 tons. Length: 4.7 meters. Wingspan: 5.0 meters. Height: 3.0 meters. Operational ceiling: 100 meters. Max speed: 350 kilometers per hour. Main armament: heavy bolter or multi-melter. Secondary armament: not available. Main ammunition supply: 500 rounds. Secondary ammunition supply: not available. Armor: superstructure 15 mm. Hull: 15 mm. The Storm Speeder is an anti-gravity skimmer used by Adeptus Astartes Primaris Space Marines to perform a variety of tactical tasks. The Storm Speeder was developed as part of Cal's Primaris project, combining Arkan Land's ancient discoveries of anti-gravity technology with the uncompromising brute force of Cal's recently discovered repulsor technology. Storm Speeders are very similar to the older Adeptus Astartes land speeder models and perform similar functions, but they are larger and better armed without sacrificing maneuverability. The Storm Speeder can be equipped with 3 variants: Storm Speeder Hail Strike, Storm Speeder Hammer Strike, and Storm Speeder Thunder Strike, each featuring a combination of formidable turret and sponson armament designed to meet changing tactical needs on the battlefield. The Storm Speeder Hail Strike is so heavily armed that it can take out entire groups of enemy infantry with a single volley of shells. As it whizzes over the battlefield, its specialized shells destroy infantry formations, barricades, and other defenses. This vehicle is armed with a turret-mounted Onslaught Gatling cannon, twin-linked Iron Hail heavy stubber, and a pair of Fragstorm grenade launchers. The Storm Speeder Hammer Strike is a specialized variant for fighting armored vehicles, trenches, and bunkers. The Hammer Strike is great at destroying enemies from trenches and bunkers. Swooping low over the battlefield, it uses scorching rounds and volleys of rockets to break through enemy defenses, armed with a Hammer Strike launcher, 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers, and a Melter destroyer. The Storm Speeder Thunder Strike is a specialized anti-tank and anti-aircraft variant. The Thunder Strike is able to outmaneuver the enemy at every turn, striking vulnerabilities in armor, fuel tanks, and missile bunkers to turn enemy tanks and vehicles into raging fireballs. Just one Thunder Strike can destroy armored breakout attempts, and once on the battlefield, few armored enemies are safe. At the same time, the Thunder Strike is well protected from enemy air cover by turret-mounted twin-linked Icarus rocket pod, as well as armed with Storm Fury missiles and Thunderstrike Las Talon, which allows him to destroy every heavy armoured opponent he can meet. Technical specification of Storm Speeder chassis is yet not available. Now, let's discuss one of the most iconic war machines in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and one of the most powerful Adeptus Astartes war instruments, the Dreadnoughts. There exists a great multitude of Dreadnought types. However, in the frame of this issue we will talk about 3 most common types that are employed within the Codex chapters of the Space Marines, the most widespread type being the Castroferum, as well as the Venerable Dreadnoughts and the Ironclad class Dreadnoughts. In addition, after return of Primarch Reboot Guilliman and the creation of the Primaris Space Marines, a new family of Dreadnoughts, the Redemptor Dreadnought, has been added to the arsenal of Astartes technology. A Dreadnought is a 4-meter-tall cybernetic walking tank, piloted by a Space Marine veteran or hero who, despite their resilience, was mortally wounded in battle and is now encased within the armoured sarcophagus of the Dreadnought, where the life support system prevents the great experience of the legendary warrior encased in the machine from perishing. The mechanical body is controlled through a Mind Impulse Unit, MIU, which is implanted directly into the base of the pilot's spine and allows them to control the multi-ton war machine using the power of thought, enabling the Dreadnought to walk as if it were a living Space Marine, with adjustments for the machine's weight and size, of course. A similar device is used among the Princeps of the Collegia Titanica to control all types of Imperial Titans. The Dreadnought's armoured sarcophagus contains a very complex and advanced life support system, and can offer a second chance even to the most severely wounded Astartes warrior. However, there is a price to be placed inside the sarcophagus. The warrior must have all limbs amputated, often including part of the torso, in case the internal organs were damaged in battle. Naturally, an Astartes can never voluntarily leave the sarcophagus. Now only death can grant this warrior eternal rest. In addition to the strong mechanical body, powerful weapons, and sensors of the machine, the warrior inside is granted an exceptionally long life, since the sarcophagus is not only capable of maintaining, but also extending life for many hundreds and even thousands of years. For this reason, many of the Dreadnoughts alive today are incredibly ancient warriors, and are revered within their chapters as legendary heroes and living relics of long past days. Thus, A dreadnought is not only a mighty combat unit, but also a living link to the chapter's past, its history and victories. For the same reason, if a dreadnought is destroyed, the surrounding Space Marines from the chapter will fight with tripled fury to recover the remains and iron body of their fallen brother, and then bury the warrior with the greatest honours, as no one else but a dreadnought pilot deserves eternal peace. Dreadnought chassis are incredibly ancient, with the oldest units having been crafted tens of millennia ago, either during the Age of Strife or later, before and during the Great Crusade. Numerous secrets of the manufacturing of these machines have since been irrevocably lost. Thus, only a few forge worlds in the Imperium, among which Mars itself stands, can produce new dreadnoughts, and only in limited numbers. The main armour plating of the dreadnought is made of multi-layered ceramite and adamantium, while the movement of the machine's limbs is facilitated by artificial muscles, which are also used in the power armour of Space Marines. However, in the dreadnought these muscles are reinforced with hydraulics and magnecoils. Together, this allows the dreadnought to bear the colossal weight of heavy weapons, their substantial ammunition, and to fight with crushing force in melee combat, while still moving as easily as a living creature rather than a machine. Typically, a dreadnought can be armed with a combination of close combat weapons, usually a power fist and heavy weaponry, or two types of heavy ranged or energy weaponry. Despite its name, the power fist of a dreadnought is far more potent than the power fist of an Astartes infantryman, for example a Terminator, and can easily crush fortress walls and the most heavily armoured vehicles. There are variants specifically armed for melee combat, but we will discuss those in future issues. Dreadnoughts can also be equipped with a wide arsenal of ranged weapons, from twin-linked autocannons, las cannons or heavy bolters, to multi-melters, plasma cannons or assault cannons. A storm bolter or heavy flamethrower is typically integrated into the power fist, and in some cases the fist can be replaced with a missile launcher. As additional equipment, a dreadnought can be fitted with a searchlight, smoke launchers and reinforced armour plates. Since controlling a dreadnought through the Mind Impulse unit is extremely stressful for the warrior's body, dreadnoughts are put into deep sleep or even placed in stasis generators for rest between battles, until their might is needed again in combat. Due to the great respect for the inhabitants of the sacred sarcophagi, pilots of dreadnoughts are awakened only every few decades or even centuries, and only in the direst need, or when their experience of hundreds or thousands of years of warfare is necessary as counsel for solving extremely complex tactical situations. Technical specifications of the Castroferum Dreadnought. Vehicle name, Castroferum Dreadnought, Forge, World of Origin, Mars. Crew, 1 Space Marine, power plant, thermal reactor. Weight, 12 tons. Length, 2.2 meters. Width, 3.4 meters. Height, 3.7 meters. Max speed on road, 10 kilometers per hour. Max speed off-road, 5 kilometers per hour. Main armament, twin autocannon, las cannon, heavy bolter, assault cannon, multi-melter, plasma cannon, and missile launcher. One of the weapons is choosing to be installed. Secondary armament, dreadnought power fist with storm bolter or heavy flamer. Turret rotation, 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range, from -90 degrees to +90 degrees. Main ammunition supply varies. Secondary ammunition supply varies. Armour, limb and chassis, 75 mm. Hull and sarcophagus, 75 mm. Only a rare union of pilot and machine that has survived hundreds of battles and endured the wars of the Emperor over many millennia can become an venerable dreadnought. Thanks to the colossal experience gained over such an extended period, venerable dreadnoughts have attained a truly intuitive understanding of war and combat operations. Years of warfare have rendered their tactics wise, and the dreadnought's combat systems have been enhanced to unprecedented technological levels by many generations of the tech marines of the chapter. In battle, such a dreadnought always knows how to best defend itself from damage, making their already robust sarcophagi even harder to destroy. A standard dreadnought is a fearsome mechanical warrior, fearless in the face of adversity, while a venerable dreadnought combines this with centuries of wisdom and military cunning. Essentially, the majority of presently living venerable dreadnoughts are variants of the most common type of dreadnoughts, the Castroferum, utilized by a significant portion of all Astartes chapters. Their main external difference from standard dreadnoughts lies in the numerous battle-earned purity seals, honorific laurels and golden script adorning the dreadnought's armor. Deep within its armored sarcophagus lies the most experienced warrior, the true heart of the dreadnought. Every dreadnought pilot is a veteran space marine who has weathered hundreds of battles in the name of their chapter and the Emperor. A venerable dreadnought has witnessed thousands of battles, hundreds of military campaigns, and has become a legend, almost a mythical figure to all the young warriors of its chapter. The knowledge amassed over thousands of years of service is highly valued even by the highest command echelons of the chapter, and everyone, sooner or later, seeks counsel from the ancient warrior within the dreadnought. Such dreadnoughts are armed similarly to their Castroferum brothers, with the only difference being that among the venerable dreadnoughts, one can more frequently encounter a power fist variant with blades instead of fingers, known as the dreadnought power claw or power talons. There are also more rare variants of dreadnought power fists, which have 4 fingers arranged like on a human hand, with the thumb on the opposite side of the palm. Such fists allow the dreadnought to handle objects and enemies with heightened precision in fine motor skills. But typically, such a fist is utilized to crush the Emperor's foes with powerful strikes or to press them into a spectacular bloody fountain with its fingers. Another distinctive feature of the venerable dreadnoughts includes additional armor plates, which are usually adorned with gold decorations depicting the legendary feats of the warrior and the names of the worlds on which he has fought. The ironclad class dreadnought, perhaps, is the most heavily armored of all types of dreadnoughts available to the Codex-compliant chapters. However, in exchange for reinforced armor, it was necessary to sacrifice heavy long-range weaponry, which would not be suitable for the tasks for which the ironclad was created, namely the storming of enemy fortified regions and fortresses, where armor is far more important than firepower. Similar to giant living battering rams, ironclads breach through enemy positions, fortifications and fortress walls to unleash their wrath upon the enemy within. In essence, the ironclad is a specialized siege assault variant of the standard Space Marine Castroferum dreadnought. The ironclad sacrifices the versatility of its arsenal and firepower in exchange for enhanced protection and specialized siege assault weaponry for close combat. An ironclad is typically armed with a seismic hammer, which literally pulverizes enemy fortifications into dust. The hammer resembles a fist, which in turn is powered by a potent hydraulic system and strikes the target like a demolition hammer. A heavy flamer or melter gun is usually attached beneath the hammer itself. The dreadnought's other hand is commonly equipped with a dreadnought power fist integrated with a storm bolter for engaging distant infantry targets. When a mission requires annihilating a large number of enemy infantries, the hand with the power fist can be replaced with a hurricane bolter, consisting of 6 bolters. Optionally, the seismic hammer can be replaced with a chain fist, a heavier version of the Terminator's chain fist, which is highly effective against armored vehicles. As an additional armament, the ironclad may carry up to 2 hunter-killer missile launchers and ironclad assault launcher. The Redemptor dreadnought is a new variation of the Space Marine dreadnought, designed to allow the mangled Primaris Space Marines to continue fighting the many enemies of the Imperium. Taller, wider and more skillfully crafted than traditional dreadnoughts, these Goliaths are powered by hyper-dense plasma reactors and complex fiber bundles. They can accelerate from a resounding stomp to a thundering stride that shakes the ground and carry themselves through a hail of fire with majestic defiance. The Redemptor's neural links are so marvelous that its inhabitant, despite being in a sarcophagus inside the dreadnought's chest, can control it with amazing agility and speed. However, these advanced systems are both a curse and a blessing. The Martian tech priests in the service of Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call, who first created these walking machines of destruction, gave little thought to the health of the inhabitant, seeing them as nothing more than another part to be buried or replaced as needed. Many of those Redemptors that fought for long periods of time have already had their sarcophagi replaced, their original pilots burned out from the intensity of the machine's destructive prowess. Sometimes, though, the seething energies of the dreadnoughts suck out the life forces of the occupant until he is reduced to a sack of blackened organs, fit only for reburial, this time in an actual mausoleum dedicated to his selfless sacrifice. Redemptor dreadnoughts wield an array of devastating weaponry, including an onslaught heavy Gatling cannon or macroplasma incinerator on its right arm, and a Redemptor fist with heavy flamer or onslaught Gatling cannon on its left. It is also equipped with 2 chest-mounted Fragstorm grenade launchers or storm bolters and a carapace-mounted Icarus rocket pod for air defense. There are 3 types of Redemptor chassis. The classic Redemptor, bringing destruction and death to the enemies of the Imperium both at long range and in melee combat. The Ballistus variant is designed to support troops at a distance. Both arms are replaced with ranged weapons, namely a devastating twin lascannon and a versatile missile launcher. The Brutalis is a variant focused for melee combat. Both arms are represented by Brutalis claws or fists, in addition to which the Icarus Iron Hail heavy stubbers or heavy flamers, heavy bolters and bolt rifles can be mounted on the hull. Technical specification of Redemptor Dreadnought chassis is yet not available. Invicta is a stripped-down version of the Redemptor Dreadnought. Instead of the wounded hero of the chapter, the battlesuit is piloted by a living Primaris Space Marine, whose control panels are connected directly to his power armor. Pilots are chosen from those warriors who exhibit a propensity for quick and independent thinking and a defensive stance towards their combat brethren. These qualities are important because, while an Invicta pilot does not possess any additional abilities, he has a great deal of tactical autonomy. Most Invicta pilots tend to support and protect their battlebroths from particularly large and deadly threats, leading attacks on heavily defended positions or forming a stronghold against enemy forces. In practice, however, Invicta suits are used in any number of capacities, from armoured escort to breaking sieges at close range to hunting down city monsters. The most iconic role of these walkers is in support of the Space Marine Vanguard forces. Their reactors and servos are tuned to operate with minimal noise, and their armament allows them to fire 2 Iron Hail autocannons or a compact incendium cannon. While at a distance, each Invicta servo fist can use a modified heavy bolter, which acts as a magnified sidearm. When an enemy approaches, the pilot attaches the weapon to his hip to use its servo fist for close combat. Next on the list is the tracked vehicle that has become synonymous with Space Marine assault, namely the Rhino Armored Personnel Carrier, also known as Rhino. The tracked Rhino transport is widely used throughout the Imperium and is produced on many Forge worlds. It is part of the arsenal not only of the Space Marines but also of the Inquisition, Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Custodes, Sisters of Battle, and Adeptus Arbites. The versatility of the Rhino chassis has enabled the creation of a vast array of combat vehicles, from command staff carriers to tanks and artillery mounts. From the earliest days of the Great Crusade, the Rhino has been transporting squads of Astartes into battle for 10,000 years. Reliable, unpretentious, and simple to produce, the Rhino can operate under the most stringent conditions and virtually any fuel, all the while requiring minimal maintenance. The history of the Rhino can be traced far back into the distant past of humanity. Initially, the Rhino was known as the Multi-Purpose Tracked Vehicle for Terrain Exploration and Self-Defense Model RH1N0, which was universally employed by human colonists during the exploration of new worlds within the solar system and beyond. This machine was a product of the STC, or Standard Template Construct, which combined the sum total of all human technical knowledge at that time and could, upon request of the colonists, generate a blueprint for the assembly of any machine, tool, or technology. First and foremost, the colonists needed a durable, all-terrain tracked vehicle that could easily operate in hazardous atmospheres and terrains while providing protection against hostile life forms. The rover's engine had to run on any potential type of fuel. The STC created exactly what they requested. Soon the Rhino became a very common multi-purpose vehicle among all human colonies and remains extremely popular transportation among the majority of the Imperium's forces today. In the modern Imperium, only the most trusted forces or ruling bodies of the Imperium have access to Rhinos, among them the Adeptus Custodes, the Inquisition, Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, Adeptus Arbites, and the Adeptus Mechanicus. Thanks to its ingenious simplicity and reliability, the design remained unchanged for a long time because there was nothing to improve upon. However, later other assembly variants of the ancient machine were discovered, including the Predator tank, Whirlwind artillery mount and many others. And the Rhino and its chassis became the foundation of the Adeptus Astartes armoured force and remains so to this day. The vehicle's crew consists of Astartes driver, who also remotely control a storm bolter mounted on the roof hatch for the machine's self-defense. In addition to the storm bolter, the Rhino's armament can be augmented with a second storm bolter or hunter-killer missile launcher, or equipped with a dozer blade for clearing rubble. The Rhino driver's course is mandatory for all Space Marine warriors without exception. The armoured troop compartment of the Rhino can accommodate up to 10 fully equipped Space Marines with their weapons. Access to the troop compartment is provided through 2 side hatches and a rear drop-down hydraulic ramp. Atop the vehicle, there is a large double-leaf hatch from which passengers can fire and quickly evacuate the vehicle if the other hatches or boarding ramps are damaged. Since the Rhino is a product of the standard template construct, it can be constructed from the majority of materials available on any given planet. However, a great many of these vehicles are made from multi-layered ceramite plates, mounted on a plasteel frame. Yet, the true genius of the vehicle lies in its engines, which are capable of running on nearly any combustible material, including wood. The multi-fuel engines operate on internal combustion thermal reactors connected to dynamos, which in turn supply power to the electric motors and charge the vehicle's batteries. The engines and electric motors are isolated from each other on different sides of the hull and have their own independent air supply system, as well as a built-in reserve of air mix for operations in a vacuum. Should one of them be damaged, the vehicle will simply lose speed, but will continue to move. Even if all 4 engines are destroyed, the Rhino can move for a short time on the charge of its batteries. Moreover, most Rhinos are equipped with a simple yet reliable diagnostic and self-repair system capable of automatically restoring engine function directly on the battlefield, with minimal or no crew intervention. It is for these reasons that the Rhino remains the primary armoured personnel carrier for the Space Marines to this day. Technical specifications of the Rhino APC: Forge World of Origin, Mars. Crew, driver. Power plant from 2 to 4 Mark II internal combustion thermal reactors. Weight 30 tons. Length 6.6 meters. Width 4.5 meters. Height 3.6 meters. Ground clearance 0.44 meters. Max speed on road 70 kilometers per hour. Max speed off road 55 kilometers per hour. Troop carrying capacity 10 Space Marines. Main armament Storm Bolter. Secondary armament none. Horizontal weapon rotation 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range from -65 degrees to +45 degrees. Main ammunition supply 800 rounds. Secondary ammunition not available. Armor superstructure 60 mm. Armored hull 60 mm. The APC Razorback is a new addition to Imperium's arsenal, builded on Rhino's chassis. As we mentioned earlier, the Rhino serves as the basis for many different combat vehicles. Let's now look at their main types used in the Codex chapters of the Space Marines. The Razorback is a tracked armoured vehicle that sacrifices part of its troop-carrying capacity for enhanced firepower and the installation of a full turret in place of the infantry hat. The turret is remotely operated from inside the vehicle and comes standard with a twin-linked heavy bolter, which can be replaced with a twin-linked lascannon or a combination of a lascannon and twin-linked plasma gun. Alternatively, it can be equipped with a multi-melter or a twin-linked assault cannon. Therefore, the Razorback bears the proud title of a machine with one of the broadest arsenals of available weaponry in the Adeptus Astartes armory. The main distinction between an IFV, infantry fighting vehicle, and an APC, armoured personnel carrier, is that after deploying the assault force to the front line, the APC typically retreats, whereas the IFV remains on the front line and supports the infantry with fire. Thus, depending on its armament, the Razorback can be utilised against infantry, as well as against heavily armoured vehicles as a light tank hunter. The control of the turret is managed through a cogitator installed in the vehicle's chassis, which essentially is a simplified version of the more advanced machine spirit installed in a Land Raider, about which we will tell you more later in this issue. However, should the need arise, the driver or one of the passengers can manually take control of the machine's weaponry. The standard template construct blueprint of the Razorback was discovered by the chief artisan Tulvius of the Mechanicus priesthood at the end of the 35th millennium, and just 200 years after testing, it was approved for mass production and transferred to Mars, from where it then spread to various forge worlds and the arsenals of the Space Marines. Many consider the Razorback to be a lightened version of the Predator tank, while others say it is a reinforced version of the APC Rhino. In any case, the Mechanicus archives have found mentions that the Razorback was successfully used by the ancient colonists for protection against hostile Xenos. The Razorback is capable of carrying into combat a team of 6 fully armed Space Marines and then supporting them in battle with its heavy weaponry. However, many Space Marine officers believe that the Razorback intermediary role as a transport tank detracts from its tactical utility, since the Razorback cannot carry an entire Astartes squad, and its armament and armor are too weak to be considered a full-fledged tank. Others believe that the Razorback is a magnificent tool of war and ideally suited for supporting heavier Land Raiders and Predators, as well as being successfully used as a reconnaissance and patrol vehicle in conjunction with Astartes biker squads. Technical specifications of the IFV Razorback. Forge World of Origin, Mars, crew, driver, power plant, 4 Mark II internal combustion thermal reactors. Weight, 31.5 tons. Length, 6.6 meters. Width, 4.5 meters. Height, 5 meters including the turret. Ground clearance, 0.44 meters. Max speed on road, 70 kilometers per hour. Max speed off-road, 55 kilometers per hour. Troop carrying capacity, 6 Space Marines. Main armament, twin-linked Storm Bolter. Secondary armament, none. Horizontal weapon rotation, 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range, from -5 degrees to +45 degrees. Main ammunition supply, 1,600 rounds. Secondary ammunition not available. Armor, superstructure, 60 millimeters. Armored hull, 60 millimeters. Turret mask, 50 millimeters. The Impulsor is a lightly armored and fast-moving anti-gravity assault transport favored by the Vanguard Space Marine forces. The Impulsor utilizes the same advanced gravity thrust technology as the heavier Repulsor and Gladiator-class chassis, and boasts vector thrusters that give this light gravity tank great speed. Its open design allows it to quickly transport a full squad of 10 Space Marines into battle, completely bypassing obstacles such as trench lines, river deltas, toxic industrial effluents and the like. Typically, these vehicles are used to deliver a killing blow by Vanguard Astartes forces, and as Rhino APCs by other primary Space Marine forces looking to deploy massive armored columns or make a quick evasive maneuver. As befits a vehicle that is often a squad's only support in hostile territory, the Impulsor can be quickly retrofitted with a variety of weapons and defense systems. For those expecting heavy fire, the vehicle can mount an advanced shield dome on its hull that covers it with a shimmering protective refractor field. This vehicle is equipped with 2 Storm Bolters, which can be replaced with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, 1 Iron Hail heavy stubber and refractor field shield dome. Envoy-class Vox and Auspex sensor arrays are used for reconnaissance in forward positions, while squads requiring additional fire support can utilize the Bellicatus missile array or an Iron Hail Sky Talon array, ideal for destroying enemy aircraft in the sky. But these armaments can be placed only in place of refractor field. The technical specifications of the Impulsor are not yet available in Imperial records. The primary battle tank of the Space Marines, known as the Predator, is arguably the most heavily armored and well-armed variant of the Rhino, which in turn is divided into 2 main subtypes differing in armament, the Predator Destructor and the Predator Annihilator. Most chapters of the Space Marines possess from 20 to several hundred machines of both subtypes. The Predator first took up the defense of humanity and its worlds during the Dark Age of technology. It was then that this tank became a key factor in the victory and prosperity of humanity across countless worlds in this galaxy. There exists a theory that the Predator was the standard template construct's response to the threat from the warlike Orcs. While the Rhino managed quite well against more primitive Xenos races on other worlds, the brutal and merciless Orcs required a more formidable response. The Predator became the perfect weapon against the Greenskins, for there were few weapons capable of confidently penetrating the Predator's heavy armor from a distance, and the armament of the tank itself, namely the autocannon and heavy bolters, left no chance for the advancing Orc infantry and vehicles. Those ancient Predator tanks have not changed in design to our days, which further proves the high functionality of the original STC scheme. Now let us take a closer look at the two main subtypes of the Predator. The Predator Destructor, the earliest model of the Predator, created still in the dark age of technology. The combination of a rapid-fire autocannon and two heavy bolters mounted in the sponsons proved so versatile that the tank has been used almost unchanged to this day. Currently, the Predator is a machine whose use is permitted only to the Adeptus Astartes chapters. The main weapon of the machine is the Astartes pattern autocannon installed in the tank's turret, equipped with an autoloader, a muzzle brake, and an ejector of spent casings. The aiming and firing of the autocannon are carried out by the tank commander from the turret, using a ballistic complex. The autocannon is usually loaded with fragmentation explosive shells, slightly larger than an Astartes fist, which can easily destroy heavy infantry and most types of light vehicles. In the sponsons, heavy bolters are installed, which however can be replaced with las cannons if the mission requires the tank to engage with heavily armoured targets. Aiming and firing from the sponson-mounted weapons are conducted through the turret's target acquisition system. The second most significant advantage of the Predator over the Rhino, besides the enhanced armament, is the armour, which consists of 3 layers. The first layer of armour is made from bonded sheets of adamantium ceramite alloy, which gives the Predator 5 times the protection of regular steel at the same thickness while being lighter in weight. Next is a layer of reinforced thermoplast and a mesh of energy-absorbing padding, which protects the internal systems from radiation and high or low temperatures. The outer layer of protection is made from a scratch-resistant and anti-corrosive acrylic paint that does not reflect light. Together, all 3 layers provide up to 200 mm of equivalent armoured steel protection in the tank's frontal projection. If desired, the tank's hull can be reinforced with additional armour. Technical specifications of the Predator Destructor Tank. Forge World of Origin Mars, Crew Driver Commander Gunner Power Plant, 4 Mark II internal combustion thermal reactors. Weight 66 tons, length 6.6 meters, width 6 meters including the sponsons. Height 6.6 meters including the turret. Ground clearance 0.44 meters, max speed on road 68 kilometers per hour, max speed off-road 50 kilometers per hour. Troop carrying capacity not available. Main armament Astartes pattern autocannon. Secondary armament 2 heavy bolters in the sponsons. Horizontal weapon rotation 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range from -15 degrees to +28 degrees. Main ammunition supply 120 rounds. Secondary ammunition 1100 rounds. Armor superstructure 65 mm. Armored hull 55 mm. Gun mantlet 65 mm. The Predator's second main subtype, the Annihilator, whose induction was not without scandal. According to the Liber Armorum, this model appeared in the 36th millennium during the Scarrath Crusade. The Adeptus Mechanicus were outraged upon discovering that the Space Wolves tech marines dared to violate the sanctity of the STC Predator tank's design by replacing its weapon. However, the successful military application of the new modification did not go unnoticed. As the Space Wolves continued to use the new modification, the tech priests meticulously studied the new design. After long, heated debates and numerous tests spanning 200 years, the Adeptus Mechanicus acknowledged that such modification was not only pleasing to the machine god, but also that the Predator was initially designed with such weapon alterations in mind. Thus, the Annihilator entered the arsenal of the majority of the other Astartes chapters and became one of the main anti-tank tools of the Space Marines. Instead of the Astartes pattern autocannon, the Annihilator's turret is equipped with twin-linked Stormbringer pattern lace cannons, which bring a storm equipped with focusing rings and flash suppressors. Powered by diquartzoid crystal batteries, each cannon barrel is capable of firing 1,000 shots before becoming unserviceable and needing replacement. Each of the two sponsons can be fitted with an additional LA scannon, which can easily be swapped out for heavy bolters or completely removed depending on the tactical situation. Technical specifications of the Predator Annihilator tank. Forge, World of Origin, Mars. Crew, Driver, Commander Gunner. Power plant, 4 Mark II internal combustion thermal reactors. Weight, 66 tons. Length, 6.6 meters. Width, 6 meters including the sponsons. Height, 6.6 meters including the turret. Ground clearance, 0.44 meters. Max speed on road, 68 kilometers per hour. Max speed off-road, 50 kilometers per hour. Troop carrying capacity, not available. Main armament, twin-linked Stormbringer patternless cannons. Secondary armament, 2 heavy bolters in the sponsons. Horizontal weapon rotation, 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range, from -15 degrees to +28 degrees. Main ammunition supply, unlimited from battery. Secondary ammunition, 1,100 rounds. Armor superstructure, 65 mm. Armored hull, 55 mm. Gun mantlet, 65 mm. The Gladiator is an Imperial anti-grav main battle tank designed to provide heavy armor support to Primaris Space Marines from various chapters. Based on the Impulsor assault transport chassis, the Gladiator is a fast, maneuverable battle tank that provides deadly fire support for Primaris Space Marines in the field. Like many of the new vehicles and combat vehicles created for the Primaris Space Marines, the Gladiator is available with multiple armament options to maximize its tactical flexibility. Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call has continued his quest for techno-heresy called innovations to equip the Primaris Space Marines with the best weapons, armor, and combat vehicles in the galaxy. This brutal armored behemoth is the first specialized battle tank to emerge from the forges on Mars. Like the other Primaris tanks created by Call's genius, the Impulsor and Repulsor variants, the Gladiator utilizes repulsor field anti-gravity technology to drift menacingly across the battlefield as one of the rare Imperial gravity tanks. The Gladiator's chassis is the more heavily armored chassis of the Impulsor, and its open transport bay is replaced by a fully enclosed hull. This design echoes the classic Predator battle tank and the ubiquitous Rhino armored personnel carrier used for thousands of years by the Adeptus Astartes, who sacrificed transport capacity for reinforced armor, powerful turret-mounted main armament, and weapon-mounting sponsons. The Gladiator can be equipped with 3 variants: Gladiator Valiant, Gladiator Reaper, or Gladiator Lancer, each featuring a combination of powerful turret and sponson armament designed to meet changing tactical needs on the battlefield. The Gladiator Reaper's twin-linked heavy onslaught Gatling cannon and a pair of Tempest bolters provide this Gladiator variant with a level of firepower unmatched by anything other than the ultra-heavy Baneblade battle tank used by Astra Militarum. When the Gladiator Reaper's twin-linked heavy onslaught Gatling cannon spin up to full power, their rumble makes everyone nearby itch their teeth from the intensity of the vibrations. Within seconds, thousands of shell casings rain down on the armored hull of the battle tank, and the enemy infantry is wiped off the face of the earth in a metallic hail. Meanwhile, the Gladiator Valiant model is the most aggressive of the 3 variants, specializing in close-range fire support for Primaris Space Marine infantry. It can destroy even the largest vehicle or monstrous Xenos organism with a single devastating salvo of twin-linked Lastalon and a pair of sponson-mounted multi-melters. Whether escorting Primaris Space Marine transports or supporting infantry in brutal battles, the Gladiator Valiant fires with equal ease through rushing waterways, sucking swamps and bubbling lava lakes. Its twin-linked Lastalon spit directed energy death at the enemy, piercing enemy armor and breaching fortified positions at close range. Finally, the Gladiator Lancer has the longest range of any Gladiator model, allowing it to easily tear apart enemy armor at great distances, with the Lancer laser destroyer designed specifically for it. The Gladiator Lancer destroys the heaviest enemy armor with precision, while its Lancer laser destroyer blasts smoking holes in the hull. The range of its turret-mounted heavy gun is such that it can destroy armored threats to Space Marines before they even encounter them on the battlefield, and blast past the burning wreckage of enemy vehicles to capture their objectives. Even if a squad of enemy infantry gets in the way, they will suffer the unenviable fate of being reduced to bloody shreds by bursts of sponson-mounted storm bolters. The technical specifications of the Gladiator chassis are not yet available in Imperial records. The siege tank, known as a Vindicator on the chassis of Rhino, used by numerous Astartes chapters, is armed with one of the largest caliber weapons in the Astartes arsenal, the Demolisher cannon, also referred to as a siege cannon. Despite its short effective range, its firepower is immensely challenging to overstate. A successful shot from the Demolisher is capable of destroying an entire bunker, burying the enemy squad that was inside under debris. For this reason, the Vindicator serves as a crucial tool during the Astartes armoured assaults. Thanks to its low profile compared to other Astartes tanks, the powerful cannon and the bulldozer blade of the Vindicator, this tank are often utilised in urban warfare, as well as other dense landscapes like jungles, where the short range of the weapon becomes irrelevant, and its power compensates for the vehicle's other deficiencies. Alongside the Rhino and Predator, the Vindicator tank remains one of the oldest types of armoured warfare vehicles that still serve the Imperium to this day. The history of the Vindicator tank's origins is only partially known, but ancient records claim that the vehicle was developed simultaneously with other Rhino STC variants during the Dark Age of technology. Humanity required a tank that could support infantry during assaults on heavily fortified enemy defences, with heavy-caliber projectiles, artillery strikes, and direct fire. Other sources suggest the Vindicator was first created during the Horus Heresy battles on the planet Roston 1, when Theudora cannons were mounted on modified rhinos to breach through the heavily fortified positions of the traitors amidst the city ruins. Later information indicates that Vindicator tanks were long out of favour and seldom used in combat. Their mass production was halted either during the Great Crusade, or the production lines were destroyed in the flames of the Horus Heresy. It was only when Primarch Rabut Guilliman included the Vindicator in the Codex Astartes that these machines began to reappear in the Astartes armories. The Thunderer cannon was replaced with a more compact, yet equally destructive, Demoliher cannon. Furthermore, slight modifications were made to the tank's armour schematics, its fire control system, and the control system of the tank itself. The Vindicator soon became the most crucial tank during sieges and urban combat. In nearly every chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, there is at least one such machine, always ready for battle. The Vindicator is armed with a Demolisher cannon, built into the tank's front armour plate. This large-caliber weapon fires powerful, high-explosive, rocket-assisted shells capable of demolishing entire buildings with a single, powerful shot. Due to the size of the cannon, the massive auto-loading mechanism, and the large volume of ammunition, the tank has only 2 crew members. The tank is usually equipped with a siege shield, or as it is also called, a dozer blade, which adds front protection and allows it to clear debris that inevitably remains after firing at targets, thereby clearing the way for the rest of the troops following behind. Other standard equipment includes a searchlight and smoke launchers. It can be further upgraded with a hunter-killer missile launcher and a pintle-mounted stormbolter. Technical specifications of the Vindicator tank: Forge, World of Origin, Lucius. Crew, driver, commander gunner, power plant 4, Mark II internal combustion thermal reactors. Weight 42 tons, length 7.5 meters, width 4.5 meters, height 3.6 meters, ground clearance 0.44 meters, max speed on road 64 kilometers per hour, max speed off-road 48 kilometers per hour, troop carrying capacity not available. Main armament, Demolisher cannon. Secondary armament not available. Horizontal weapon, traverse 2 degrees, weapon elevation range from 0 degrees to plus 45 degrees. Main ammunition supply, 18 rounds. Secondary ammunition, not available. Armour, superstructure, 65 mm. Armoured hull, 65 mm. Gun mantlet, 65 mm. Whirlwind artillery tank. The Whirlwind is a light, mobile artillery platform for the Space Marines, based on the Rhino chassis. Due to its specific specialization, Most Adeptus Astartes chapters have around 20-30 vehicles of this artillery tank. However, this is more than sufficient, considering that the Whirlwind, unlike the more cumbersome basilisks of the Imperial Guard, can prepare a salvo in a matter of seconds, fire, and then few moments later change position for a new missile strike. It does so with greater accuracy than conventional artillery. The most common version of the Whirlwind is the Helios model. The Helios is available with two types of missiles. The first is called Vengeance, equipped with high explosive warheads, considered the Helios's most versatile ammunition. The second type of ammunition is the Castellan missiles, armed with incendiary mix warheads, whose damage is somewhat lower than the previous ammunition, but the explosion of such a missile can penetrate shelters and ignite everything around. Technical characteristics of the Whirlwind artillery tank: Forge World Origin, Helios, Crew, Driver, Commander Gunner, Power Plant, 4 Mark II, Internal Combustion Thermal Reactors, Weight 33 tons, Length 6.6 meters, Width 4.5 meters, Height 5 meters including the turret, Ground clearance 0.44 meters, Max speed on road 68 kilometers per hour, Max speed off-road 50 kilometers per hour, Troop carrying capacity not available. Main armament, Whirlwind missile launcher, secondary armament not available. Horizontal weapon rotation 360 degrees. Weapon elevation range from 0 degrees to plus 55 degrees. Main ammunition supply up to 60 missiles. Secondary ammunition not available. Armor, superstructure 60 mm. Armored hull 60 mm. Turret mantlet 30 mm. Anti-aircraft tanks Hunter and Stalker are modifications of the Whirlwind artillery tank, which serves as the foundation of the Space Marine Squad's air defense perimeter. Hunter is armed with the Sky Spear anti-aircraft missile system, capable of shooting down enemy fighters and bombers with equal ease. The machine's body armor is reinforced with slabs on front and on the sides, compared to the standard Whirlwind. Additionally, hydraulic stabilizer jacks have been added to the machine, allowing it to withstand the powerful recoil when firing without damage to the hull. Sky Spear fires anti-aircraft missiles with an integrated guidance system. The warhead of each missile contains the remnants of an honored servant of the chapter. The preserved brain of a servitor aids the missile's guidance during active anti-air counter maneuvers, as only a living being can pursue. Stalker is the second anti-aircraft modification of Whirlwind, armed with 2 independent batteries of Icarus Storm Cannon anti-aircraft autocannons, allowing the Stalker to engage 2 targets simultaneously with armor-piercing ammunition at a high rate of fire. The armored hull of the Stalker is reinforced in the same manner as the Hunter, plus the machine has the same stabilizer jack system for firing. Land Raider. The Land Raider troop tank is a formidable iron monster that is widely regarded as one of the most survivable machines in the entire Imperium of mankind. Despite being one of the oldest combat vehicles in the human arsenal, it remains one of the most formidable ground units in the Astartes. Protected by multi-layered armor made of sturdy ceramite and adamantium, the Land Raider is virtually invulnerable to most types of weapons, while itself being menacingly armed with 2 twin-linked cannons and a twin-linked heavy bolter, allowing it to engage both infantry and vehicles. The history of the Land Raider began with the expedition of the great techno-archaeologist Archon Land, who went deep underground into the Librarius Omnis on Mars and found there the STC blueprints for the Land Raider and anti-grav platforms, which were later used in the assembly of land speeders. As you may have guessed, both machines were named in honor of Archon. The first Land Raiders went into service during the Great Crusade at the dawn of the Imperium's era. The successful combination of powerful weapons and sturdy armor, plus the ability to transport assault squads within the machine through the most perilous battles, became a turning point in many of humanity's victories among the stars. The demand for this tank was so great that an entire Forge world, Anvilus 9, was founded for its production, which soon began to supply thousands of these machines to the forces of humanity. However, the events of the Horus heresy soon unfolded, and everything changed. Sometime after his betrayal, Horus seized Anvilus IX through his loyal turncoat agents from among the Adeptus Mechanicus. In this manner, Horus cut off the Imperium's access to these crucial tanks and began to take all the produced machines for himself. The supply of land raiders to the Imperium almost completely stopped at once. This was a significant blow to the Loyalist forces because the Land Raider was one of the few machines that, in sufficient numbers and with skill, could be successfully used against enemy Titans. Although Horus's forces were eventually driven from Anvilus IX, by that time they had managed to produce a large number of Land Raiders for the forces of Chaos, and after fleeing to the Eye of Terror, they took with them the knowledge of how to build new Land Raiders. At the moment, when the forces of the traitors were already nearing the Terror, the Emperor issued a decree that all remaining Land Raiders must be recalled and handed over for service in the Legiones Astartes, as the Space Marine Legions were then called. Thus, he left all the Land Raiders to his loyal Space Marines, who were the backbone of the defense of Terra. After Horus's forces were defeated and the Emperor ascended to the Golden Throne, no one dared to contradict the Emperor's decrees. To this day, the Land Raider remains in service only with the Space Marine chapters. Although there are some exceptions, a few Land Raiders are occasionally issued to some high-ranking inquisitors and influential rogue traders. The most common type of Land Raider is called the Land Raider Phobos, and is armed with twin-linked Godhammer pattern lascannons mounted in the sponsons and a twin-linked heavy bolter mounted on top of the tank to provide anti-infantry fire. The Land Raider is considered one of the most heavily armoured machines in the Imperium, its armour strength being second only to the godlike monolith of the Necrons. The tank's armour is equally strong from all sides and does not possess any vulnerabilities that are inherent to other armoured vehicles, where the strongest armour is usually at the front, and significantly less so on the sides and rear. The tank can carry 10 fully equipped Space Marines or 5 Terminators. Each Land Raider is equipped with an advanced computer, practically at the levels of artificial intelligence, which the Adeptus Mechanicus call the Machine Spirit, which in turn allows the tank to move and fight on autopilot, even without a crew inside. In the Imperium there exists a great multitude of Land Raider types, but only 2 are commonly used by the Space Marine chapters. Let us take a look at them. The Land Raider Crusader is an assault variant of the tank with an extended troop compartment. The Crusader was developed by the Tech Marines of the Black Templars chapter and quickly spread among the Astartes chapters, and a bit later was officially approved by the Adeptus Mechanicus. The primary distinction between the Crusader and the Phobos lies in their armament. Instead of 2 lascannons, the Crusader is equipped with sponsons carrying hurricane bolters, and the heavy bolter is replaced by a twin-linked assault cannon. Furthermore, a multi-melter is often mounted on one of the roof hatches. The absence of powerful plasma generators, which usually power lascannons, has freed up additional space inside the tank, significantly expanding the troop compartment and thus increasing the vehicle's capacity up to 16 Space Marines or 8 Terminators. The Crusader also features assault grenade launchers mounted above the tracks to cover the disembarking troop. The Land Raider Redeemer is the second popular type of tank, based on the Crusader and specially designed for urban combat. Instead of hurricane bolters in the sponsons, it is outfitted with twin-linked flamestorm cannons. This tank type was first developed and utilized by the Fire Lords chapter. Although the Redeemer has a lower transport capacity than the Crusader, the high-temperature salvos from its cannons can incinerate even Space Marines in power armor. This model has gained particular popularity with the Salamanders chapter. Technical characteristics of the Land Raider Phobos battle tank: Forge World Origin Mars, crew, driver, commander, gunner, power plant, internal combustion thermal reactor and an auxiliary reactor. Weight 72 tons. Length 10.3 meters, width 6.1 meters, height 4.11 meters, ground clearance 0.45 meters. Max speed on road 55 kilometers per hour. Max speed off-road 48 kilometers per hour. Troop carrying capacity 10 Space Marines or 5 Terminators. Main armament 2 twin-linked lascannons. Secondary armament twin-linked heavy bolter. Weapon traversing range 180 degrees. Weapon elevation range from -32 degrees to +42 degrees. Main ammunition supply, unlimited. Secondary ammunition, 2,600 rounds. Armor, superstructure, 95mm. Armored hull, 95mm. The Repulsor is an Imperial anti-gravity main battle tank designed to provide armored support for Primaris Space Marines from various chapters. The Repulsor, although based on the same standard template constructs as other Adeptus Astartes vehicles, is the Imperium O Mankind's first heavily armoured vehicle to use anti-gravity technology since the Horus Heresy in the early 31st millennium. The Repulsor is manufactured by the Forges of Mars under the command of Archimagos Dominus Belisarius Call, as are most of the new combat vehicles created for the Primaris Space Marines. It is unknown if Call used recently recovered ancient technology to create this design, or if it originated in his own mind as part of his radical turn towards the former heresy known as innovation. Designed as a heavy combat transport for the Primaris Space Marines, the Repulsor is unique among Adeptus Astartes battle tanks in that it is held on a humming cushion of gravity waves. Ventral plates on the tank's underside project and direct these waves of gravitational force, and while they do not allow the Repulsor to soar into the sky like the lighter land speeder, they do give it exceptional maneuverability for an Imperial tank. The Repulsor armoured transport is a deadly combination of maneuverability and brute force. Thanks to a turbine in the rear, it has tremendous propulsion power and is kept afloat by powerful anti-gravity generators. The Repulsor is so heavily armed and armoured that it doesn't sweep over the landscape like space infantry scout ships like the land speeder, but instead crumples the ground beneath it. The tank rumbles forward with a deep bass rumble, turning stone into gravel and fallen bodies into bloody slurry and bone meal. Repulsor can easily traverse not only solid ground but also extreme terrain such as lava flows, acid lakes, and frozen oceans. Debris and barricades are also no obstacle for this relentless machine, which simply hovers over obstacles and keeps on going. With typical Imperial belligerence, the Repulsor crushes everything it flies over. Its gravity waves turn the ground beneath it into rubble, flattening enemy defense lines and collapsing trenches into screaming warriors. Enemies too slow to leap aside will be crushed by the tank's mass, and even enemies trying to attack Repulsor at close quarters range are forced to slice through a raging storm of gravity waves, akin to attacking through an avalanche of violently swinging sledgehammers. Repulsors are exceptionally tough. With multi-layered armor of ceramite and adamantium, these machines deflect the enemy's heaviest fire, forging a ruthless path through the center of their battle lines. Then their hatches open, allowing the towering post-human passengers to rush out with their weapons. In terms of firepower, the Repulsor possesses a veritable armory. The grav tank is equipped with an Onslaught heavy Gatling cannon, a twin heavy bolter, an Iron Hail heavy stubber, an Icarus Iron Hail heavy stubber, 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers, 2 Storm bolters and auto launchers. The twin heavy bolter can be replaced with a twin las cannon. The heavy Onslaught Gatling cannon can be replaced with a las Talon. The Iron Hail heavy stubber can be replaced with an Onslaught Gatling cannon, and the 2 Storm bolters can be replaced with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers. The Icarus Iron Hail heavy stubber can be replaced with an Icarus rocket pod and Storm bolter or a Fragstorm grenade launcher. The auto launchers can be replaced with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers. The Repulsor's standard armament set can be augmented with an additional Iron Hail heavy stubber. The Repulsor can carry 10 Primaris Astartes in Mark 10 Tacticus power armor, or 5 Primaris Marines in the bulkier Mark 10 Gravis battleplate. The technical specifications of the Repulsor main battle tank have not yet been made available by the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Astartes Super Heavy tank. The Astartes, formerly the Astartes Super Heavy tank, is a massive super heavy grav tank used exclusively by Primaris Space Marines. Just as these new transhuman warriors represent the apex of Adeptus Astartes capabilities, the Astartes Super Heavy tank embodies the pinnacle of Imperial engineering, the largest and arguably most destructive war machine that serves as the perfect complement to any Primaris Astartes force. The Astartes utilizes anti-gravity plate technology similar to the repulsor transport also used by Primaris Space Marines, but on a much larger scale. The Astartes' enhanced repulsor plates provide a stable firing platform for the tank's temperamental weapons and allow it to advance inexorably through any hostile terrain. The vehicle's thick armor and additional protection in the form of layered void shields allow it to repel even the most devastating weapon strike. The Astartes is a symbol of the Imperium's might, unbroken by the dawn of a bloody new millennium and unbroken by the onslaught of enemies. The Astartes Super Heavy tank was designed for use by the Primaris Space Marines, but its design is not a direct result of Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Call's repulsor project, but combines his innovations with the standard template construct technology already available to the Imperium. The STC technology in question was supposedly found by the Minotaur's chapter during the so-called Perun's Cross incident, a battle whose records are classified to all but the highest echelons of the Inquisition. As such, Astartes production is concentrated on the more remote forge worlds, most notably in the fortress forge of Mezoa, which is not easily reached by Mars' gaze. The Astartes possesses an enormous hull that carries a number of devastating defensive and offensive systems. The main weapon of the Astartes Super Heavy tank is a set of turret-mounted, twin-linked macro-accelerator cannons coupled to sponson-mounted Las Rippers or plasma eradicators. The macro-accelerator cannons are particularly powerful, but the tank is also equipped with a coaxial iron hail heavy stubber turret and a set of twin-linked heavy bolters or lascannons mounted on the hull at the front of the vehicle. The Astartes is protected by multi-layered void shields and kept afloat by powerful anti-gravitic generators, which provide a powerful deterrent to enemy assault units. Unlike its smaller counterpart, the repulsor, the Astartes does not have the transport capabilities to the Astartes. Instead, this colossal machine is designed for destruction only. While there are few targets that can withstand the fierce fire of the Astartes Super Heavy tank, it particularly excels at taking down aircraft. This war machine can fire on the move and even in close combat, making it remarkably agile and mobile despite its enormous size. The Astartes is also equipped with a pintle-mounted storm bolter, which can be replaced with an additional iron hail heavy stubber on the vehicle's turret. The technical specifications of the Astartes Super Heavy tank have not yet been made available by the Adeptus Mechanicus.